Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LeadHer Lounge. I'm Taylor Miller-Goulet.
And I'm Erica Rivera, and this is the space where modern leaders come for fresh and practical takes on leadership. Welcome!
Today's episode is all about what not to do as a leader, and we've identified 3 top don'ts that we're going to discuss with you guys today, so you can kind of get a better idea on what not to do to become a much more effective leader. So I'm going to start with the first one, and then we're going to kind of dive into it. So The very first one is going to be that leaders neglect accountability.
Okay, that's a good one. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you start.
I have a lot to say about that one. I'm going to try to keep it short. Sometimes, and that happened to me when I was a leader, I wanted to be everybody's best friend. So it was very hard for me to give responsibilities and to hold them accountable to the responsibilities, just because I didn't want to upset them, or maybe I didn't want them to think that I was being this type of dictatorship or something like that. So I was doing a lot of their work. I was doing all of that because I wasn't holding them accountable, and that actually was that was damaging not just their development, but also my team and my success as a team as well.
I think it damages your credibility as a leader too. 100%. And I don't mean that as in like you're not, just because you're doing a lot doesn't mean you're a bad leader, but it does mean that you don't know how to ask for help, which we've talked about before, and that you just really, you have too much control kind of, and it can kind of come across as like you don't trust the people. Exactly. Like if I've had leaders that want to do it all themselves, and I have been that person before. You know, I have some control things I'm working on. So
we're all working on things. That's a good part of being a leader.
Yeah.
We're always working on ourselves. Yes.
Perfectionist. I'm trying to just become a human. But anyway, it's very easy to fall into, I'm really good at this, so I'm just going to do it for you. But you have to empower people to do it themselves. So what is it? It's negate accountability or neglect accountability. If you are not holding people accountable, and you're not holding yourself accountable to doing the things that you should be doing, and you delegate a task, you should be following up, making sure that task was done, and that you set the proper expectations for it too.
Yeah, because that's the other side. Okay, one thing is not holding them accountable, and the other thing is you are not holding yourself accountable. Now you're asking for a lot of things for your team members, and you are not doing the things that you should be doing. So there is a balance, and accountability, which we're going to talk about that in the next episode, is a big one. So find that balance, believe in your people, trust your people, trust that they are going to be able to do the things that you're going to delegate, but also hold yourself accountable so they can see that example coming from you.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. The second don't, ignore feedback. So I think we mentioned this the last episode, but a lot of people, companies and leaders, they will ask for feedback. You know, how am I doing? Is there anything I can do to help you? Then they receive the feedback from their employee or whoever it is that they're asking, and they do nothing with it. And as an employee, that is so defeating, because it just is, you get in the mindset of, why did I even ask you, or why did you ask me that in the first place? Because if you're not going to do anything with it, it's worse than not ever asking for feedback in general.
Because number one, you need to appreciate the fact that they're coming to you and they're providing feedback, because it's not easy to provide feedback. Yes. It's really, really hard to be honest and tell somebody that they're not doing things right, or they can be doing things better. And also just like us to confirm that what you understood is what they are actually trying to communicate to you, right? Because sometimes we're thinking that they're coming from this place, but it's actually from another place. So just confirm that the things that you're thinking are right, so you can take the next steps, the right steps.
Yeah, the right steps in the right direction. Yeah, we talk a lot about assumption, so I'll bring it up again, is that we tend to assume the worst, and that's it's a human nature. We assume the worst of things because we want to prepare ourselves, but when we receive feedback and we're assuming it's coming from a bad place, we're going to take it the wrong way. And we really need to shift our mindset into, this is not because I'm really bad or I suck at my job. It's because I can do better and I should do better and I have the ability to do better. A lot of times when we get feedback, it's because someone sees potential in us that we might not see in ourselves. So don't take feedback as a bad thing. It's always good. Sometimes we can give feedback better. I think that, and we can talk about that in another episode, but I think as far as being the receiver of it, especially as a leader, you have to accept it as a gift, like we said before.
Yes. And I'm going to say last thing because you sparked something on me.
Yeah.
The way that you're going to receive feedback is the way that your team members are going to start receiving feedback.
Yes.
So you are the example of that situation. So make sure that you're very pleasant when you're getting feedback, that you're grateful again, because next time when you're going to provide feedback, because you're going to provide feedback, they are going to receive it the same way, the same exactly way, because you are building that environment of safe space and where everybody can provide feedback, even to each other, peer-to-peer as well.
Okay, so the last one that we have here is an interesting one, and it's micromanaging. So let's hear what you have to say.
I don't like that word at all. And when we're talking about these questions, when we went over the topics before, you mentioned something about what happened with COVID, like going, working, like kind of like remote jobs, hybrid all of those things. That changed a little bit the ways we live, because we're not seeing, some of us, we're not seeing our team members, what they're doing every single day. At every single time. We are not capable of doing it. So we found that the best way to do it is just like making sure that they're always in teams, or sending recaps or emails or different things that might seem very micromanaging.
Like we were saying, it's an interesting topic because people are hybrid and you want to hold people accountable, which is the first thing we talked about, but you don't want to be like on them every second of every day. But you want to know what they're doing. So, we've got this really weird dynamic where people might be not hitting expectations, and you want to see why they're not hitting expectations. But you also might see people who maybe they are capable of doing more and they're not doing more. They're just, making expectations, like just hitting that, but you feel like they could maybe be doing a little bit more. Either way, I think we come from a place where... an interesting place, I think, where we were in corporate America during, obviously, the shutdown in 2020, where everyone was quarantined at home. And it was such a crazy shift because we went from being in person to being virtual. And what worked for some teams to adapt did not work for others. It really does depend. Everything is very circumstantial, especially with leadership. But I think if you're going to be in a position where you can't see what people are doing, trust is everything. And building a trusting relationship with your team members is huge. And you have to do that through daily interactions. You can't do it through a once a week, once a month check-in, or you can't do it through email or like Teams or Slack messages. You have to be able to see that person. Now, maybe this is my opinion, but I think cameras on is a necessity. And I think that that's because you can't make a human connection when you can't see a face.
You can see their body language. You can perceive their tone as well. So yes, cameras are very, very important.
I think that's huge. And I don't think you can really build a genuine connection without it.
Yes.
So my advice, if you're here for advice, my advice would be cameras are on. Cameras are on, and you have to talk. Like when we were remote, our leader would reach out even for 5 minutes of just, hey, what's on your plate today? What are you doing? Is there anything you need from me? And some days it was just, I'm good. I'm cool. I don't need any help. I'm just going to knock out my tasks today. Or, or maybe I do need a little bit of extra support. Thank you for at least giving me 5 minutes of your time today.
Yes.
to check in. So
yes, and explaining why do you want the camera? Don't say because I need to make sure that you're not in your pajamas and need to make sure that you're not watching TV. No, that is not a good why. It's like because I want to make sure that I like just looking at you, your body language is going to help me understand that what I'm communicating is like landing correctly. Just try to explain the why. Why do I need to send an email every 2 hours? It's because I need to know what you're doing every 2 hours because I don't trust you. I don't know if you're doing this. No, the why is important. Okay, I want an email because if you maybe are behind, maybe you have a roadblock and maybe I can jump in and help you with anything, because I'm here to help you. So explaining why you are doing certain things, because you need a structure anyway. Like it's not about, yes, it's trust, but also you have to have a structure. But explaining why that structure is like that and what you like that way is very important. It's everything.
Yes. It's going to build that trust.
It's the whole message, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So, micromanaging or checking in constantly without a trusting and good relationship with that person will probably just end up burning what we call relationship capital, which, again, another topic for another day, but still, you have to build those trusting relationships in order for your leadership approach to come across as genuine and they understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
But so there are
more
tons.
There are more don'ts. Of course, there are more don'ts, and we're gonna be talking about them as well. But these three: don't neglect accountability. Whether you are being the one not holding yourself accountable or not holding your people accountable, make sure that you're doing that. Don't ignore feedback. Feedback is everything. Is what helps you to grow, what it helps your team members to grow. So providing it and receiving it well is very important. And don't micromanage. Don't utilize even that word. That word doesn't exist in your vocabulary. It doesn't exist because you're not doing that. You're supporting your people. You are guiding them. You're there to help them. That's why you're doing all of those things. That's why you want the camera on if you're working virtually. That's why you want a few emails throughout the day to see if they have any roadblocks that you need to jump in and help with. So it's the way that you're kind of like communicating all those things are going to help you to really resolve that one. Micromanaging, or what they say that you're micromanaging. Have that conversation. Why they're saying that to you is very, very important to like be curious and ask questions and understand them, and understand that you're different. The way that you work is different than the way they work. They might be more productive later in the day. We know we are more productive after our coffee after 9 a.m. But like maybe help them to organize and structure their day depending on how productive they might be. The energy is there to organize the meetings throughout the day where they feel better pretty much for everybody. I know you cannot please everyone, but just try your best to understand each individual so you can just be better for them and create a better flow in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if there's any other don'ts that you have come up with, let us know in the comments. I'm sure there's tons. But if there's any big takeaways that you got from today too, or anything you want to hear more about, let us know in the comments. As always, please subscribe so you can be sure to get more content from us. And thank you again for joining us here at the LeadHer Lounge.
Bye. See you next week.